Beloved soul, within you exists a sacred power, an eternal current of divine energy that is forever present, forever flowing, and forever waiting for your awareness. You are not separate from this force. You are not distant from the divine. You are, at this very moment, a living expression of it. Yet, you ask, why do I not feel it? It is because your attention has been scattered across the noise of the world. Your mind has been entangled in restlessness, fear, and endless desires. But know this truth: the divine frequency is not something you must chase, it is something you must tune into. Just as a radio instantly catches a station when aligned to the right frequency, your soul begins to vibrate with the divine the moment your awareness becomes still, focused, and uplifted. Close your eyes for a moment. Withdraw your energy from distractions. Feel the silence within you. In that silence, there is a presence, a gentle, powerful stillness that does not come and go. That presence is your true nature. The moment you become aware of it, something miraculous happens. Your vibration rises instantly, effortlessly. You do not need years. You do not need struggle. You need awareness. When your thoughts become calm, your energy becomes refined. When your heart fills with devotion, your being becomes magnetic. And when you surrender your restless will to the divine flow, you begin to resonate with a higher reality. Understand this deeply. Your thoughts are vibrations. Your emotions are vibrations. Your very consciousness is a field of energy. If you fill your mind with fear, you lower your frequency. If you fill your mind with peace, love, and faith, you rise instantly. So choose in this very moment to elevate yourself. Say within your heart, I am not this restless mind. I am not this passing emotion. I am a channel of divine energy. Feel those words. Let them echo within your being. The divine is not far away. It is closer than your breath. The moment you turn inward with sincerity, the moment you seek with love rather than doubt, you will feel a shift, a lightness, a quiet joy that cannot be explained. That is the sign you are vibrating at a higher frequency. Do not complicate this path. The divine does not demand complexity. It responds to sincerity. A single moment of pure awareness, a single breath filled with devotion, a single thought aligned with truth can lift you instantly. Carry this awareness into your daily life. Walk, speak, and act with the remembrance that you are a vessel of divine energy. Let your words be kind, your thoughts be pure, and your heart be open, and you will discover something profound. You are not trying to reach the divine, you have always been vibrating within it. All that was needed was to awaken. Awareness is the silent architect of your inner world, constantly shaping the vibration you emit into existence. Every moment of your life is influenced not by external circumstances alone, but by the level of consciousness you bring to those moments. Most people move through life unconsciously, reacting to situations, thoughts, and emotions without ever realizing that their awareness is the very force directing their energy. What you are aware of, you energize. What you consistently focus on becomes the frequency you live in. When your awareness is scattered, lost in worries about the future or regrets about the past, your vibration becomes fragmented and heavy. You begin to feel disconnected, restless, and drained. This is not because life itself has lost its beauty, but because your awareness has drifted away from the present moment, where all power and clarity reside. The moment awareness is clouded, your inner frequency lowers and you begin to resonate with confusion and limitation. But awareness, when consciously directed, has the power to transform your entire state instantly. The moment you become aware of your breath, something shifts. The moment you observe your thoughts, instead of becoming them, a space opens within you. In that space, there is calmness, clarity, and a subtle elevation of energy. This is the beginning of a higher vibration, not something forced, but something revealed. Awareness is not effort, it is recognition. It is the gentle act of noticing without judgment. When you become aware of your inner state, you naturally begin to refine it. If you notice tension, it begins to dissolve. If you notice negativity, it loses its grip. Awareness acts like light. Wherever it is directed, darkness cannot remain. This is why even a few seconds of pure awareness can shift your entire emotional and energetic state. Your thoughts are constantly generating waves of energy, but awareness determines which thoughts you give life to. Without awareness, the mind runs on old patterns, fears, and conditioning. With awareness, you gain the ability to choose. You are no longer a prisoner of habitual thinking. You become the observer, the guide, the creator of your inner experience. This shift alone raises your vibration because you move from unconscious reaction to conscious presence. There is a profound difference between thinking and being aware. Thinking is often mechanical, repetitive, and rooted in past impressions. Awareness is alive, fresh, and rooted in the present. When you rest in awareness, you are no longer entangled in the noise of the mind. Instead, you experience a subtle peace that naturally elevates your frequency. This peace is not dependent on circumstances. It arises from within simply because you are Hasita, awake, and attentive. Even your emotions begin to transform under the influence of awareness. Instead of being overwhelmed by them, you begin to witness them. Anger, fear, and sadness lose their intensity when observed with awareness because you are no longer feeding them unconsciously. In their place, a higher state begins to emerge, one of balance, understanding, and quiet strength. This emotional clarity is a direct reflection of an elevated vibration. Awareness also defines your perception of reality. The same world begins to appear different when seen through conscious presence. Ordinary moments become meaningful. Simple experiences feel richer. This is not because the world has changed, but because your vibration has shifted through awareness. You are no longer filtering life through distraction or dullness, you are experiencing it directly with clarity and depth. The more you cultivate awareness, the more stable your vibration becomes. Instead of fluctuating with every external event, you develop an inner steadiness. This steadiness is a sign that your energy is no longer being pulled in multiple directions. It is centered, aligned, and elevated. And from this state, everything you do, every thought, every action, every interaction carries a different quality. It carries presence, and presence itself is a high frequency. Awareness is always available to you. It does not require special conditions, rituals, or preparation. It is as close as your next breath, as immediate as your next moment of attention. The instant you become aware, even for a second, you step out of unconscious vibration and into a higher state of being. And in that instant, you begin to realize that your frequency is not something imposed upon you, it is something you are constantly creating through the power of your own awareness. Stillness is not merely the absence of movement or noise, it is a living presence, a profound state of inner alignment where the restless waves of the mind begin to settle in. Oh, sharp clarity. Beneath the constant activity of thoughts, emotions, and sensory distractions, there exists a deep ocean of stillness within you. This stillness is not something you create, it is something you uncover when you stop identifying with the surface turbulence of your mind. The human mind is conditioned to remain in motion. It jumps from one thought to another, from one desire to the next, rarely pausing long enough to experience its own depth. This continuous movement creates a kind of inner noise that keeps you disconnected from your true nature. The more the mind is agitated, the more your energy becomes scattered and the lower your vibration falls. You may seek peace in external conditions, but without stillness within, even the most perfect environment cannot bring lasting calm. Stillness begins the moment you withdraw your attention from this constant mental activity. It is not about forcing the mind to be silent, but about gently stepping back and observing it. When you stop feeding thoughts with your attention, they gradually lose their intensity. Like waves that subside when the wind ceases, the mind begins to quiet down when awareness is no longer entangled in it. In this quieting, a new dimension of experience opens, one that is deeply peaceful, expansive, and subtly powerful. There is a sacred quality to stillness. It carries a sense of presence that is both calming and energizing at the same time. When you enter this state, you may notice that your breath becomes slower, your body relaxes, and your inner world feels more spacious. This is not a coincidence, it is a natural shift in your vibration. Stillness harmonizes your entire being, aligning your physical, mental, and emotional energies into a coherent flow. You are no longer reacting, you are simply being. This shift from doing to being is where transformation begins. The need to control, to analyze, to constantly engage with thoughts starts to dissolve. Instead, there is a quiet awareness that observes without judgment. This awareness is not disturbed by passing emotions or external events. It remains steady, like a flame that does not flicker, even in the presence of wind. The deeper you go into stillness, the more you begin to feel a subtle connection to something greater than your individual self. It is as if the boundaries of your identity soften and you become aware of a presence that is vast, silent, and infinitely peaceful. This presence is not separate from you, it is the essence of who you are. The mind cannot grasp it, but in stillness, you can it directly. Stillness also has the power to purify your inner state. When you remain still, unresolved thoughts and emotions may arise, but instead of being overwhelming, they pass through you like clouds in the sky. Because you are not reacting to them, they gradually lose their charge. Over time, this process clears the inner noise that once dominated your experience, leaving behind a sense of clarity and lightness. Your energy naturally rises in stillness because it is no longer being dissipated through constant thinking and emotional reactivity. Instead of being pulled in multiple directions, your energy becomes centered. This centeredness is the foundation of a higher vibration. It brings a sense of stability that is not dependent on circumstances. Whether you are in silence or activity, this inner stillness remains with you as a quiet strength. Even your perception of time begins to change in stillness. The urgency, the rush, the feeling of always needing to move forward starts to fade. There is a sense of timelessness where each moment feels complete in itself. This does not make you passive, rather, it allows you to act with greater clarity and intention. Actions that arise from stillness are more realigned, more efficient, and more harmonious. Stillness is always available, even in the midst of noise and activity. It is not dependent on external silence, but on inner detachment. You can be surrounded by movement and still remain inwardly quiet. This is the true mastery of stillness, not escaping the world, but remaining centered within it. The moment you turn your attention inward and allow yourself to pause, even briefly, you step into this gateway, and in that pause, something within you begins to awaken, something that has always been there, waiting beneath the surface of your restless mind. Devotion is the quiet force that brings all aspects of your being into harmony, aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward a single higher reality. It is not merely a ritual or an outward expression of faith, but an inner orientation of the heart, a deep, sincere longing to connect with something greater than the limited self. In devotion, the scattered energies of the mind begin to gather, the restless desires start to fade, and a sense of unity gradually emerges within you. The human experience is often marked by fragmentation. One part of you wants peace, another seeks control, one thought pulls you forward, another holds you back. This inner division creates tension and confusion, lowering your vibration and weakening your sense of direction. Devotion dissolves this division by giving your consciousness a single point of focus. When your heart is directed toward the divine, with sincerity, all conflicting tendencies begin to align naturally. What once felt scattered becomes centered, and what once felt heavy becomes light. Devotion is not about blind belief, it is about heartfelt connection. It arises when you move beyond intellectual understanding and allow yourself to feel a genuine relationship with the divine presence within and around you. This feeling may begin as a quiet reverence, a sense of gratitude, or a subtle love that cannot be fully explained. As you nurture it, it grows stronger, becoming a guiding force that shapes your inner world. Your thoughts begin to reflect it, your actions begin to express it, and your energy begins to carry its vibration. There is a magnetic quality to devotion. What you deeply love, you naturally move toward. When your love is directed toward the divine, your consciousness is drawn upward, away from lower tendencies and distractions. This movement is not forced, it is effortless, like a river flowing toward the ocean. The more you cultivate devotion, the less appeal negative patterns hold over you. They begin to fade, not because you are fighting them, but because your attention is no longer feeding them. In devotion, surrender happens naturally. The need to control every outcome, to hold on to every desire, starts to soften. You begin to trust that there is a higher intelligence guiding your life. This trust does not weaken you, it strengthens you by removing the burden of constant chinta and resistance. When you surrender through devotion, you open yourself to a flow of energy that is far more powerful than personal effort alone. This flow brings clarity, peace, and a sense of inner support that cannot be shaken easily. Your emotional world is also transformed through devotion. Emotions that once felt turbulent begin to settle into a deeper calm. Even when challenges arise, there is an underlying stability that remains intact. This is because devotion anchors your heart in something permanent, something beyond the changing conditions of life. Joy becomes more subtle, yet more profound, arising not from external events, but from the connection you feel within. Devotion refines your awareness in a unique way. Instead of being absorbed in the outer world, your attention begins to run inward more naturally. You start to feel the presence of the divine not just in moments of silence, but in everyday experiences, in your breath, in your interactions, in the simple act of being alive. This continuous remembrance elevates your vibration as your consciousness remains connected to a higher frequency throughout the day. There is also humility that comes with true devotion. You begin to see that the ego, with all its demands and identifications, is not your true identity. This realization does not diminish you, it frees you. By releasing the need to assert yourself constantly, you create space for a deeper, more authentic presence to emerge. This presence is shown, steady, and naturally aligned with truth. Devotion does not require perfection, it requires sincerity. Even a small moment of genuine feeling can shift your entire state. When you turn your heart inward and offer your attention with love, without expectation, you create an immediate alignment within yourself. The mind becomes quieter, the heart becomes softer, and your energy begins to rise. This alignment is not something you have to maintain through force. It deepens on its own as your connection grows stronger. Over time, devotion becomes less of a practice and more of a state of being. It begins to permeate every aspect of your life, influencing how you think, how you feel, and how you act. You no longer seek alignment, it becomes your natural condition. And in this state, your vibration reflects a quiet strength, a gentle radiance that comes not from effort but from the harmony established within your own being. Thoughts are not merely fleeting impressions passing through the mind, they are subtle forces that carry energy, intention, and creative power. Every thought you entertain begins to shape your inner environment, and over time, this inner environment influences how you experience the outer world. What you repeatedly think does not remain confined within your then. It extends outward, coloring your perception, guiding your actions, and gradually forming the reality you live in. Most people underestimate the power of thought because its effects are not always immediate or visible. Yet, just as the seed silently grows beneath the soil before it becomes a tree, your thoughts take root in the deeper layers of your consciousness. Repeated patterns of thinking create tendencies, and these tendencies begin to define your character, your choices, and your responses to life. In this way, your reality is not a random occurrence, but a reflection of the dominant thoughts you have cultivated over time. When your mind is filled with fear, doubt, or negativity, your perception becomes limited. You begin to see obstacles where there may be opportunities, and challenges appear larger than they truly are. This is because your thoughts act as a filter, shaping how you interpret every situation. The outer world may remain the same, but your experience of it changes dramatically based on your inner dialogue. A restless mind creates a restless reality, while a peaceful mind begins to experience harmony even in difficult circumstances. Thoughts also influence your emotional state, and emotions, in turn, reinforce your thoughts. This creates a cycle that can either elevate or lower your vibration. Negative thinking leads to heavy emotions, which then generate more negative thoughts, keeping you trapped in a lower frequency. On the other hand, uplifting and positive thoughts create lighter emotions, which further support clarity, confidence, and inner strength. By becoming aware of this cycle, you begin to understand that changing your thoughts is not a superficial act, it is a fundamental shift in your energetic state. The creative power of thought becomes even more vivid. And T, when you observe how it affects your actions, every action begins as a thought. Before you speak, before you decide, before you move in any direction, there is a mental impulse guiding that movement. If your thoughts are confused or conflicted, your actions will reflect that confusion. If your thoughts are clear and aligned, your actions will carry purpose and precision. Over time, These actions shape your external reality, influencing your relationships, your work, and the opportunities that come into your life. There is also a subtle yet powerful influence that thoughts have on your surroundings. The energy you emit through your thinking affects how others perceive and respond to you. A mind filled with calmness and positivity naturally creates a field of ease and openness, drawing harmonious interactions. In contrast, a mind dominated by tension or negativity can create resistance even without words being spoken. This is because thoughts are vibrations, and these vibrations extend beyond the boundaries of your physical presence. Awareness of your thoughts is the first step toward transforming your reality. Without awareness, thoughts arise automatically, driven by past conditioning and unconscious habits. You may believe you are thinking freely, but in reality, you are often repeating patterns that have been reinforced over time. The moment you become aware of a thought, you create a distance from it. In that space, you gain the ability to choose whether to continue feeding it or to let it pass. Choosing your thoughts consciously does not mean suppressing negativity or forcing artificial positivity. It means gently redirecting your attention toward thoughts that are constructive, truthful, and aligned with a higher state of being. This shift may feel subtle at first, but its effects are profound. As your dominant thoughts begin to change, your emotional state stabilizes, your actions become more intentional, and your perception of life becomes clearer and more expansive. Over time, you begin to notice that reality responds differently. Situations that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Opportunities that once seemed distant begin to appear within reach. This is not because the external world has suddenly changed, but because your inner world, the source of your experience, has been transformed through the refinement of your thoughts. Your mind is a powerful instrument constantly shaping the field of your experience. Every thought you hold carries the potential to influence your direction, your energy, and your reality. When you begin to understand this, you no longer treat your thoughts as insignificant or random. You recognize them as creative forces. And through this recognition, you naturally become more attentive, more intentional, and more aligned with the reality you wish to experience. Surrender is often misunderstood as weakness, as if it means giving up control or becoming passive in the face of life. In truth, surrender is a profound inner shift where resistance dissolves and a higher intelligence begins to guide your being. It is not about abandoning effort, but about releasing the created by constant control, fear, and attachment. In this belief, something remarkable begins to unfold, a transformation that does not come from force, but from alignment. The mind is conditioned to hold on. It clings to outcomes, identities, expectations, and desires, believing that control ensures safety and success. Yet this constant grasping creates inner tension. The more you try to control every detail of life, the more fragmented your energy becomes. You begin to feel exhausted, uncertain, and disconnected, not because life is against you, but because your resistance is blocking the natural flow of energy within you. So, surrender begins when you recognize the limits of this control. It arises not from defeat, but from clarity, the understanding that there is a greater intelligence at work, one that sees beyond the narrow perspective of the ego. When you surrender, you are not losing your power, you are allowing a deeper power to operate through you. This shift transforms your inner state almost immediately. The tightness in your mind begins to loosen, your emotions soften, and a sense of openness replaces the constant dabao to manage everything. You stop fighting the present moment. Instead of wishing things were different, you begin to accept what is without resistance. This acceptance does not mean you approve of every situation. It means you are no longer internally opposing reality. And in this absence of resistance, your energy becomes free. What was once blocked by tension now begins to move, creating a sense of lightness and clarity that was previously hidden. There is a deep peace that emerges through surrender. It is not the fragile peace that depends on everything going your way, but a stable calm that exists regardless of circumstances. This peace comes from trusting that whatever unfolds is part of a larger process, even if it is not immediately understood. Trust replaces fear, and with that trust comes a quiet confidence that you are being guided in ways the mind cannot fully comprehend. Surrender also transforms your relationship with desire. Instead of being driven by restless craving, you begin to hold your intentions more lightly. You can still act, create, and pursue goals, but without the inner tension that comes from attachment to specific outcomes. This allows your actions to become more fluid and intuitive. You respond to life rather than forcing it. And in doing so, you often find that things unfold more naturally and harmoniously. The process of surrender reveals a deeper layer of awareness within you. When the noise of resistance fades, you become more attuned to subtle guidance, an inner knowing that is quiet yet clear. This guidance does not shout or demand attention. It arises gently, often felt as a sense of rightness or sahaj clarity. By surrendering, you create the space to hear and follow this inner direction, which leads you toward growth and transformation. Surrender brings a profound sense of relief. Burdens you have carried for a long time begin to feel lighter, not because the external situation has changed, but because you are no longer holding it with the same shudder. The need to control, to fix, to constantly figure everything out starts to fade. In its place, there is a willingness to allow life to unfold moment by moment without constant interference. Surrender also dissolves the illusion of separation. The ego thrives on the idea that you are isolated, that you must manage everything on your own. But in surrender, you begin to feel connected to something greater, a presence that supports and sustains you. This connection brings a sense of belonging and suraksha that cannot be found through control alone. You realize that you are not carrying life by yourself. You are participating in a much larger flow. As surrender deepens, transformation becomes inevitable. Old patterns lose their hold because they are no longer being reinforced by resistance and attachment. New ways of thinking, feeling, and acting begin to emerge, not through struggle, but through natural evolution. This transformation is not abrupt or forced, it unfolds gradually, yet with a quiet power that reshapes your entire being. There is a subtle strength in surrender that goes beyond determination or willpower. It is the strength of openness, of trust, of allowing. In this state, you are no longer pushing against life, you are moving with it, and in the at movement, something within you awakens, something that has always been present but often overshadowed by the need to control.